Jonathan Kaminga's future with the Golden State Warriors has become one of the most uncertain and emotionally charged storylines heading into the new season. After a whirlwind offseason, including the high-profile arrival of a star forward, Kaminga was surprisingly pushed out of the spotlight. What many expected to be his breakout year instead turned into a frustrating setback. Despite being the 7th overall pick and one of the team's most promising young players, Kaminga was temporarily removed from the rotation altogether. The decision sparked confusion, disappointment, and an avalanche of speculation. For a franchise that once positioned him as a cornerstone of their future, this sudden shift raised eyebrows across the league. And with training camp fast approaching, the silence from the Warriors' leadership has only fueled more questions than answers. So where exactly do things stand? Recent reports indicate that the Warriors have stepped away from ongoing trade talks involving Kaminga, for now. Internally, it seems the team is content holding on to him, at least through the start of the season. However, insiders suggest this isn't necessarily a long-term commitment. While trade isn't imminent, it's not entirely off the table either. The door remains cracked open. Kaminga, meanwhile, has made his stance subtly clear. He turned down a contract extension this summer. That wasn't just a financial decision, it was a message. It signaled concerns about his role, his opportunity, and his trust in the organization's long-term vision for him. At just 22 years old, Kaminga still holds immense upside. Last season, he averaged 15.3 points, 4.6 rebounds, and 2.2 assists per game, all in a limited role. Given the right minutes and system, there's little doubt he could significantly elevate those numbers. His athleticism, explosiveness, and defensive versatility make him one of the league's most intriguing young players. But that potential means very little if he's glued to the bench. And while the Warriors project calm publicly, behind closed doors, tension has been brewing. Sources close to the situation say Kaminga has grown increasingly frustrated. He's remained professional in public, but privately, his camp is weighing all options. One of those options? Accepting a $7.9 million qualifying offer for the 2025-26 season. That might sound like a win for Kaminga, betting on himself, locking in 1 year, and becoming an unrestricted free agent next summer. But there's a catch. Taking the qualifying offer gives him leverage, yes, but it also places immense pressure on him to deliver big, fast. He'd be playing for his next contract, in a system that has already shown signs of minimizing his role. Ironically, the Warriors may not even mind if he takes that route. A 1-year deal keeps them in control while giving Kaminga the motivation to perform at a high level, raising both his value and their options for the future. In other words, even Kaminga's so-called leverage could play right into their hands. Still, it's a risky game. Holding onto a young star who doesn't feel fully supported could damage team chemistry. And the longer this limbo continues, the more complicated things get, not just for Kaminga, but for the entire franchise. Internally, coaching decisions will be under the microscope. Will Kaminga be given a real shot to carve out a consistent role? Or will he be squeezed out again, this time with even more at stake? So far, the only public messaging from the coaching staff has been vague, referencing competition and the need to play the best lineups. But with the presence of older veterans taking priority, it's easy to see how Kaminga might be left fighting for scraps. The fan base is divided. One half sees Kaminga as the future, an electrifying young talent the team must invest in. The other half believes the Warriors are in win-now mode, and can't afford to wait on development, especially with aging stars pushing for one last title run. That leaves the franchise stuck in a difficult middle ground. Keep Kaminga and potentially spark a breakout season, or watch his value drop as the situation sours. Trade him and risk losing a future all-star for pennies on the dollar. Whichever way this goes, one thing is clear, the Warriors are playing with fire. They hold the power, but that power comes with consequences. Kaminga's talent is undeniable. His ceiling is sky high. But if he doesn't feel valued, trusted, or prioritized, it could be only a matter of time before this situation turns irreversible. The clock is ticking in Golden State. And the next move they make could define not just Kaminga's future, but the future of the franchise itself. For Jonathan Kaminga, betting on himself might sound empowering, but it could come at a steep price. If he accepts the $7.9 million qualifying offer and things go south, he could lose $30 to $40 million in future earnings. That's not just a bad deal, it's a potentially career-altering decision. The problem? How do you prove your value if you're not even on the court? That's the core of the dilemma. Kaminga is caught in a cycle where he needs minutes to showcase his growth, but the Warriors haven't shown much urgency to provide them. If that doesn't change, then taking the qualifying offer becomes less of a power move and more of a trap. And that's what makes this gamble so dangerous. If Kaminga chooses that one-year deal, what makes this season any different from the last? Will the same coaching staff that sidelined him before suddenly prioritize his development? Or will he be left fighting for scraps again, all while risking his market value for next summer? Some insiders believe things could actually get worse. If he's not part of the long-term plan, there's little incentive for the team to increase his minutes. And if Kaminga becomes mentally checked out, or worse, refuses to engage, it's hard to imagine any team offering him a big money deal after watching him rot on the bench for a year. That's exactly why his camp is pushing for a trade now. This isn't just about role or ego. It's about survival. This stage of Kaminga's development is pivotal. Another year of stagnation could derail what was once a clear upward trajectory. He's not just fighting for more minutes, he's fighting for his future. What we're seeing now is a full-blown standoff. Two sides holding cards, both unwilling to fold. If Kaminga signs the qualifying offer, he's essentially daring the Warriors to trade him or let him walk next summer. But the team can respond by burying him even deeper in the rotation, knowing that doing so limits his market value and leverage. That's what makes this entire situation so volatile. Both parties are playing with fire, and one wrong move could burn them both. And while this power struggle unfolds, the rest of the league is watching closely. Several teams have been quietly monitoring the tension in Golden State, viewing Kaminga as a high-upside target they could acquire at a discount. Franchises that are rebuilding or looking for young, explosive wings see this as an opportunity. But they are hesitant to make serious offers unless the Warriors make their intentions clear. No one wants to give up valuable assets if Golden State might let the situation implode on its own. Internally, the Warriors appear just as divided. The departure of their longtime GM left a new front office to navigate its first major test, and it's a big one. Some within the organization want to double down on development, believing Kaminga could be a long-term fit alongside younger pieces. Others, particularly in the win-now camp, see him as trade bait, someone who can help bring in a more seasoned contributor before Stephen Curry's championship window slams shut. Even within the coaching staff, there's tension. Head coach Steve Kerr has a reputation for leaning on veterans in high-pressure moments. His past reluctance to commit to Kaminga only deepens the belief that there's a disconnect between player development and chasing rings. From the outside looking in, media reactions are just as mixed. Some analysts believe this situation could turn toxic if the Warriors don't bring clarity before training camp. Others suggest the front office is simply trying to hold firm, hoping a better trade offer eventually emerges. But the truth is, time is running out. Every day that passes without resolution raises the stakes. If the Warriors don't act soon, either by committing to Kaminga or cutting ties, the tension could explode into something no one can control. And if that happens, both sides may end up with far less than they hoped for. Because in this standoff, one thing is clear: if nobody moves, nobody wins. The Golden State Warriors find themselves at a critical crossroads, balancing the fading light of their dynasty with the urgent need to evolve. And right at the heart of that battle stands Jonathan Kaminga. 4 weeks now, the tension surrounding Kaminga's future has only intensified. As October 1st approaches, the deadline for his $7.9 million qualifying offer, the pressure on both sides is becoming impossible to ignore. But make no mistake, this situation is no longer just about contract logistics. It's about trust, direction, and what kind of team the Warriors want to be moving forward. Social media has been just as divided as the front office. Some fans have rallied behind Kaminga, passionately defending his untapped potential and calling out the team for stalling his development. Others are skeptical, arguing that if he hasn't broken through in 4 seasons, maybe the ceiling just isn't as high as once imagined. But both sides agree on one thing: this is a pivotal moment. For Kaminga, it's not just about playing time. It's about momentum. He's 22 years old, the same age many breakout stars in NBA history have taken their leap. Another year lost in limbo, with inconsistent minutes and a vague role, could irreversibly stall his rise. Conversely, the right opportunity, whether in Golden State or elsewhere, could lead to a breakout season, a major payday, and a central role on a rising team's future. From the Warriors' perspective, mishandling this could have lasting consequences. Not only could it mean squandering the potential of a top 10 pick, but it could also hurt the franchise's reputation among young players and agents across the league. Kaminga was once seen as a bridge between eras, a future face of the franchise. Letting that potential rot on the bench sends a loud message. And now, there's a high-stakes gamble in play. Kaminga and his camp are reportedly considering accepting the qualifying offer, a one-year deal that gives him short-term control and freedom to become an unrestricted free agent in 2026. But here's the twist: if the Warriors aren't invested in giving him a real role this season, what good is that control? By signing the deal, Kaminga could end up trapped: limited minutes, limited production, and ultimately, limited value. He could go from one of the league's most intriguing young wings to an afterthought by next summer. That risk is exactly why his team is pushing for a trade now. They don't want another year wasted. They want clarity, opportunity, and a system that truly believes in him. On the other side, the Warriors are holding firm. They haven't ruled out a trade, but they're not rushing, either. Their internal conflict is just as complex. Some voices within the organization want to invest in Kaminga's development, believing he could still be a foundational piece. Others, driven by a win-now mindset, view him as a valuable trade chip, especially with their veteran core aging and the recent addition of a high-profile star making a final championship push. Head coach Steve Kerr has remained vague, referencing competition and rotations, but his history of favoring experienced players doesn't exactly bode well for Kaminga. The longer this standoff drags on, the greater the risk that both sides walk away with less than they deserve. All the while, the league watches closely. Several teams are keeping tabs on Kaminga's situation, waiting to see if they can strike a deal once Golden State finally makes a decision. But even they hesitate. No one wants to overpay if the situation could implode on its own. While all this tension brews, one Warrior continues to shine through it all: Stephen Curry. Even amid a rollercoaster season filled with highs, lows, and an unfortunate playoff-ending injury, Curry reminded everyone exactly why he's still the soul of this franchise. In a season where consistency was rare, Curry gave fans yet another reason to celebrate, this time, voted directly by them. In a testament to his enduring creativity, he was awarded the 2024-25 NBA Handle of the Year, thanks to a stunning behind-the-back, buzzer-beating shot against Phoenix. It wasn't just a highlight, it was a moment of pure basketball poetry. The kind of play only Curry could pull off. Even he looked shocked, sharing a wide-eyed glance with teammate Andrew Wiggins as the crowd erupted. From his early days at Davidson to redefining how modern basketball is played, Curry's journey has always been fueled by innovation. While his legendary three-point shooting changed the geometry of the game, it's his ball handling and control that often get overlooked. Whether it was putting defenders on skates in LA or dancing through traffic in Houston, Curry's handles have always been the setup to the spectacle. And now, fans have made it official: his artistry with the ball is just as iconic as his shot. This award comes during a season where Curry averaged 24.5 points per game, despite battling injuries and ultimately missing the entire second round of the playoffs. His field goal percentage hovered near 45%, with nearly 40% from beyond the arc. Even in year 16, Curry continues to inspire awe, not just with what he scores, but how he scores. That Phoenix play? It wasn't just a highlight. It was a message: I'm still here. I still set the standard. Through chaos, injuries, and roster shakeups, Curry remains the heartbeat of the Warriors. His game evolves, his leadership sharpens, and his passion never fades. And as younger stars rise across the league, Curry isn't stepping aside, he's still defining what greatness looks like. So as the Warriors wrestle with how to build their next chapter, balancing youth like Kaminga with the greatness of Curry, the stakes couldn't be higher. Because one thing is certain: what they choose to do now won't just shape the 2025 season, it could define the next decade. Jonathan Kaminga just made one of the boldest moves of this NBA offseason, and it's sending shockwaves through the league. The 21-year-old forward turned down a 2-year, $45 million offer from the Golden State Warriors, not because the money wasn't good, but because the terms didn't respect his long-term vision. In an era where player empowerment is becoming a defining theme, Kaminga is drawing a line in the sand, and everyone's watching. Not just about the money, it's about control. Kaminga's rejection wasn't rooted in greed. According to NBA insider Mark Stein, the key sticking points in the deal were about control, not compensation. The Warriors' offer included a team option on the second year, meaning they could decide whether or not to keep him, leaving Kaminga with little say over his future. More importantly, the deal would have required him to waive his no-trade rights, something he wasn't willing to sacrifice. Kaminga knows the Warriors have been exploring trade possibilities. By accepting those terms, he'd essentially be giving Golden State the freedom to move him at will, possibly to a team or situation that doesn't align with his goals. And as Stein explains, when a player finishes a season on a one-year deal, they automatically gain veto power over trades due to bird rights. A 2-year deal with a team option, however, removes that safeguard. So for Kaminga, the message is clear: if I'm staying, it's going to be on equal terms. Standing alone, making a statement. What makes Kaminga's decision even more striking is how rare it is. According to Stein and cap expert Keith Smith, 10 other NBA players signed contracts this offseason that included waiving their no-trade protections. Most players go along with it. Kaminga? He stood firm. That's not just unusual, it's disruptive. And it might be exactly what's needed to challenge how teams handle young, developing talent. He's not trying to be a diva. He's just doing something many young players don't, protecting his future. The ripple effect in Golden State. This contract standoff hasn't just paused Kaminga's progress, it's frozen the Warriors' entire offseason strategy. According to league insiders, Golden State has hit the brakes on signings, trades, and roster decisions until Kaminga's situation is resolved. That delay is significant, especially for a franchise that just brought in Jimmy Butler and is still navigating the balance between competing now and building for the future. To add to the tension, Kaminga also missed out on representing the Congo national team this summer due to the uncertainty around his NBA status. It's a costly standoff, for both sides. The league is watching. Rival teams are paying close attention. Multiple sources have confirmed that front offices across the league are monitoring the situation, with some already preparing trade offers in case the Warriors and Kaminga can't come to terms. The upside is clear: a young, athletic, high-potential wing who hasn't scratched the surface of his ceiling. And now, he might be available. For Golden State, this could be the ultimate test of their player development culture. They've built a dynasty around grooming talent like Curry, Clay, and Draymond. But if they fumble this Kaminga situation, it could damage their reputation with agents and young prospects for years to come. A symbol of player empowerment. This isn't just a contract dispute, it's a turning point in how younger players negotiate power. While most players in Kaminga's position accept what's offered to stay in the league's good graces, he's challenging the system. In a league increasingly defined by superstars asserting control over their careers, Kaminga is taking a stand that could inspire others to follow. He's not just negotiating for money, he's negotiating for autonomy, transparency, and respect. And that hasn't gone unnoticed. Divided fan reactions. As expected, the basketball world is split. On social media, some fans are applauding Kaminga for standing up for himself. "This is how you change the culture," one fan tweeted. "You don't get what you deserve, you get what you negotiate." Others, however, worry he's overplaying his hand. He's had flashes, but he hasn't proven enough to demand this kind of control, another posted. Whether you support him or not, Kaminga's stance has sparked debate, filling podcast segments and talk shows all summer. 3 possible paths forward. With training camp around the corner, time is running out. Here are the 3 most likely outcomes. Compromise deal. The Warriors adjust their offer, removing the team option or including partial guarantees, giving Kaminga more security while maintaining flexibility. Trade demand escalates. If no deal is reached, Kaminga could hold out or force a trade, potentially damaging locker room chemistry but asserting his leverage. Sign and trade. Both sides agree on a mutual parting, with Golden State getting assets in return while Kaminga gets a fresh start elsewhere. Each path carries risk. Each path shapes not just Kaminga's career, but the Warriors' future. A new era of negotiation. In the bigger picture, Jonathan Kaminga is doing something rare in pro sports. He's betting on himself with no guarantees. He's refusing to accept short-term stability in exchange for long-term uncertainty. In doing so, he's rewriting the unwritten rules of how young players negotiate with power franchises. The outcome of this standoff could influence how teams handle young talent moving forward, and how players fight for control before they become superstars. The bottom line. Jonathan Kaminga's message is loud and clear: "I'm not just playing for today. I'm planning for the long game." Whether that journey continues in a Warriors jersey or somewhere new, he's already changed the conversation around what young players can, and should, demand in the modern NBA. And the league will never look at restricted free agency the same way again.